Whether or not the investment backdrop we've had for the last decade or so will continue going forward, and I don't think it will, and I think it won't in ways that are quite concerning. Most significantly is the specter of a permanently higher level of inflation than we've been accustomed to for the last not only 10 years, but much longer. The central authorities, government authorities, so whether it's central banks, fiscal policies, all saved us from issues over the last 10 years because they could just pump more money into the system. We've seen collectively over $25 trillion, whether it's from the United States Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, in terms of excess reserve funneled into global economies over the last decade plus. That has to come back. And that money is coming back at a time when greater, longer term reasons for inflation are going to be present. They'll be much stickier. Things, for example, such as the worsening demographics, not just throughout Europe, the United States, Japan, but also what we're seeing in China. A significant decline in the demographics in China will create a significant labor shortage globally. Secondarily, we have the heightened regulation. Need for environmental protections will cause everything to be much more expensive. And we're seeing compliance and regulatory costs go up everywhere we are in the world, creating further headwinds. I think we're also seeing significant spending in defense, a greater degree of defense spending post the Russian-Ukraine conflict. That is requiring defense spending. Defense spending is inherently inflationary, i.e. you spend money to buy a fighter jet, a missile, a tank that you hope never to use. It is also highly inflationary. So there's a very strong structural backdrop. And then layer on top of that, deglobalization. We've all understood it. A year ago, it was a bit of a, kind of a novel concept in terms of its ability to create sticky inflation. Now it's widely accepted. And I think that's going to be a facet we're all going to have to live with for the next decade plus. So we have higher levels of inflation. We've got significant excess reserves in global economies. Those all have to come in. It means central banks, governments will have less ability to fight instability going forward. It means the cost of money, the cost of capital will be higher going forward. You'll want to look at inflation protected assets, whether those are equities that will grow with inflation or inflation protected assets that are real or of a fixed nature, of a growing nature. Those will all be things that we need to take a look at. In terms of the near-term outlook, I think it's going to be quite volatile. We've got significant cross currents, whether they be political, we have elections coming up that are going to create significant uncertainty in policy. We continue to have inflation that is troubling and concerning. The retrenchment of quantitative easing will continue to be a headwind. We're seeing bank crises, whether they're in Europe, the United States, continue to create funding issues, raising the cost of borrowing for everyone. These are going to be concerns going forward. We are going to be having a global slowdown. We've also had the greatest rise in the shortest period that we've seen before, the greatest rise in rates globally, again, whether it's the United States or in Europe, than we've ever seen before. These impacts occur with a lag. We are likely to see this lag play out not only in 2023, but also in 24. And it's going to create a much more challenging environment. I think visibility of corporates everywhere will be much more constrained. It'll be shorter and it'll be more uncertain than we've seen before, and it creates a much more challenging outlook. By the way, at the same time as valuations across markets, all markets, equities, fixed income, and real estate have areas of excess, not in total, but there are areas of excess that we need to be responsible and steer our clients around.